The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Of Africa. Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. The Nigeria we want. With Vicky Omi Folaji. Yeah, me shorty move. Wale Olaito. Elvin Siwa Shuku. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. On PKO show every Saturday. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Of Africa. Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria.
Okay, so if you haven't contacted Felicity for last week's show, if you watched the show live, you've got airtime, 200 naira worth of airtime to pick up from Felicity. You need to contact Felicity so she can organize that for you. So I would like to get our panelists to come on. Join me to welcome Mr. Wale Olaito. Wale, how are you?
I'm very well. Thanks so much, Dr. Okay. Thank you much, Dr. Vicky. It's good to be back on our therapeutic, program, our weekly therapeutic program, the Nigeria we want. And by every account, the number one show, the number one current affairs show. Thank you, and it's good to be back.
Always good to be back. Guess where I'm joining you from today?
I know this is, I know definitely this is an unfamiliar background, so I'm not really good in guessing. So I know this is not your own. It's a different background. So where are you?
I'm currently visiting Mama Charlie.
Oh, you are in England?
Yes. So that's where I'm joining you from. It was my husband that called me to say, "Do you know the time right now?" I'm like, "No."
Well,
I got
you got it very easy. You got the time, nearly got the time mixed up. Okay.
So
are you on business or you visiting your family over there?
Yeah, mixture of business and checking up on my sister and her family. So it's good.
Family, yeah. I remember she was with us in Melbourne a couple of months ago for your 50+1 birthday.
Yes, she was. She was. So yeah, I arrived last night, so I'm still kind of jet lagged, but it's all good. So today we have an important topic. We always have important topics to talk about, but today is one that I can't for us to talk about it. It has to do with our young ones. It has to do with some men being silly and not thinking, but not using their brains, but using what's under there to think. So we are going to be delving into that topic, and we have a special guest to join the panel today. She's quite experienced in this kind of thing, talking about it, teaching parents how to protect their kids, which is much more important because, of course, wherever you look, there are crazy men and women. But what can you as a parent do to protect those wonderful kids that you've got? So we have our guest panelists to talk about that. But let's see if okay, so I think I'll just invite the guest panelists to come onto the.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Okay,
so here we have Mrs. Ronke Adeniyi. Ronke Posh. I really love that name. I like
Posh,
that nickname. Ronke Posh. properly, so I need to find out today because I'm using my phone to do this, so it's not familiar how to get things working. But while I go to the green room to fix this, Wale and Ronke, can you introduce Ronke to our viewers and can you get the ball
Okay,
rolling? I'll just go to the green room and fix this. All
that's
right.
fine. Yeah. So if you just join us here on your number one show, the Nigeria We Want, on the program today we are discussing a very important topic. Specifically, we're looking at rising cases of sexual abuse in Nigeria as Nollywood popular actor James Olanrewaju, popularly known as Baba Ijesha, bagged 16 years imprisonment for sexual assault against a minor. So that event, he was sentenced just a couple of days ago, and it's that story is still making waves, in Nigeria and among Nigerians in diaspora. So to really assist us to discuss that topic today, we have a very important guest, in the house. Um, I would like to formally introduce Mrs. Ronke Adeniyi, popularly known as Ronke Posh. So you're welcome to the program, Mrs. Adeniyi.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, can you increase your volume, please?
Yes, it's on the maximum, and yours is pretty low here, so I'm wondering what is happening.
Okay, I think it's better now.
Okay, good.
It's much better now. So for the benefit of our viewers, so thank you again for joining us. For the benefit of our viewers, we quickly, go through Mrs. Adeniyi Ronke Posh. I think I'll be exchanging, but I think you prefer to be called Ronke Posh. So I'll quickly go through her profile, and then we take it up from there. Ronke Adeniyi, fondly called Ronke Posh, is a parenting practitioner, a certified family life therapist, and practitioner of neuro-linguistics programming, NLP. She's the founder of the EPS at Homes initiative, now called Parent Rights, which focuses on parenting in the 21st century and the proper recruitment of domestic workers in homes in order to prevent risk to families. Ronke Posh uses this to coach, train, and support parents who need counseling on treatment for their children online and offline. She's also a public speaker who has spoken in several schools, TV and radio stations, churches, newspapers, and blogs. In terms of tertiary education, Mrs. Adeniyi holds a BSc in biochemistry from the Queen Mary University of London and a master's degree in business administration from the University of Hull in the United Kingdom. She's also a certified and experienced Montessori directress who received her training from the Modern Montessori Institute in London and holds a postgraduate diploma in education. She's a serial education entrepreneur who loves to empower and motivate the young and old to greater heights. She owns one of the best preschool and primary school in Ikoyi, Lagos, and Nigeria, called Le Posh School, and runs a children's entertainment company called Posh Party Parks. She's also the author of the best-selling book for kids, Right Kid 101, and the newly published book, 101 Tips to Curb Beating and Shouting. So that's very impressive resume. So you welcome to the program, Ronke Poch. So I'm Wale Olaito, I'm the moderator. So feel free to call me Wale, and we can flow at Wale and Ronke Poch level. So it's good to have you, the program. We're still expecting our other panelists. Okay, here we go. So Dr. Vicky is back. Okay, so as we normally do on this program, so what we normally do, we have a segment called What is Trending. So that segment give us the opportunity to quickly talk about social and political trending, social, political, and economic issues for a couple of minutes before we move into the main topic for the day. I will start with you. So how has been your week? What is really trending for you, in the past 7 days?
Is that for me?
That's for you. I
Oh,
just want to, I want to set the ball rolling. I just want to, do you have anything trending for you? Any social or economic issue?
I think nothing more than the ordinary that is trending worldwide. I mean, the usuals. At this time, being an educator, we've just graduated at the school. So my priority has been getting the children to graduate properly, and we had a ceremony. And beyond that is just the main issues that we hear and read about in the media, the elections that are happening, people need to vote, and this case we're going to talk about as well. So nothing more than the ordinary.
Nothing more than the ordinary. Okay, thank you. I've got a couple, of mine, and then I'll quickly give you. Then I'll go to Dr. Vicky. Being the moderator, I normally give my first, and I've been accused of stealing some of my colleagues' stories in the past, but hopefully I'm not going to be accused of stealing any what is trending to this. I just have a couple on my list. The number one is the people of in Osun State, Southwest Nigeria, go to the poll to elect a new governor. So that is taking place across the Osun State, today. So the current incumbent governor, Governor Boyega Oyetola, of APC, and Senator Demola Adeleke of PDP. And I know with respect to other, minor parties, they also, a few other Labour Party and some other guys there. The main thing around that was I think they had a carnival-like kind of gatherings on Thursday, and I think there was this young guy. He call himself Were Olorin, Portable. He was there, supporting ABC, obviously, and the popular Afrobeats, star Davido, was also there, supporting his uncle, who is trying to become, the next governor of. So our program, we wish them all the best, and we hope that at the end of the day, the good people of Osun State are able to get, good governance out of all this. The number two, trending for me is the choice of Muslim ticket by APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu defies opinion in Nigeria. So that has been a major discussion. You can see Asiwaju Bola Tinubu there, and Kashim Shettima, who was recently announced as a presidential flag bearer running mate. So in a country like ours with many tribal and religious sentiments, so people have raised concerns about the choice of having a Muslim ticket in a very polarized nation like ours. So I don't think that news is going to go away very soon. So while Dr. Vicky is still battling with IT, I know, she's very, I know you just arrived in UK and you're trying to settle down from here. So I'm sure that, so I'll quickly give you a few minutes just to tell us what is trending for you before we go to the main discussion.
The main one, I believe, is about the comments going around regarding what Tinubu's son said. That he said that he's got no, his father has no excuse, or what was it? The exact word is what I'm looking for. That his father doesn't have to explain or give anybody apology for choosing a Muslim to be his VP. And some people, they see that as a slight on Christians. They see that as something that is not right. And, you know, there's so many comments going around on social media. And that just made me laugh, you know. Everything and anything that is out there is what people are grabbing on, whether in support or against whoever says they want to run. But that was just something that came to mind. There were a few other ones, but I just can't bring them forth right now.
Thank you. And on that topic, is it's not like that's gonna go away. And from my own little political analysis, I just think he made, purely political decision around getting votes. I think this is what this is all about. My own analysis, he knows that whenever deputy is going to the north, by the nature of that part of the country, they will prefer, if they are not number one, if they want to become number two, they want to have a Muslim, to be their representative. And I think that is what this is all about. But I would think that in a multi-tribal and multi-religious nation like ours, there should have been due consideration for, how will Christians across the country, how would they feel about this kind of decision? But the Christians, they have their votes, and that is the essence of democracy. I'm sure they will answer, at the right time, they will use their votes to provide answers to some of these, questions. That is, what I think. So going straight to our main discussion. So if you just join us, we are discussing rising cases of sexual abuse in Nigeria, as a popular Nollywood, actor, Mr. James Olarenwaju, aka Baba Ijesha, bagged 16 years imprisonment for sexual assault, he committed against a minor. So I'll quickly provide a bit of background to can see Baba Ijesha there. Courtesy of our producer, I quickly provide a bit of intro before we go to the main question. According to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, about 1 in 10 girls under the age of 20, which is about 120 million, have been sexually assaulted. Most times the abuse is perpetrated by someone a child knows and trusts, with 90% of adolescent girls who report sexual abuse blaming it on someone they knew. In Nigeria, rape or sexual abuse is also prevalent. In 2020, the National Human Rights Commission said it received 11,200 reported cases of rape that year alone. About 2 weeks ago, American R&B singer R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in prison for recruiting and trapping teenagers and women for sex. From R. Kelly to the shores of Nigeria, where Nollywood actor Olanrewaju James, popularly known as Baba Ijesha, bagged jail term for sexually assaulting a minor, as the faces of pedophiles and their shady lives begin to be exposed across the world. A special domestic violence and sexual offense court in Ikeja, Lagos, sentenced Baba Ijesha to 16 years imprisonment for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old minor. The legal battle began on the 24th of June, 2021, when the Lagos State government arraigned Baba Ijesha on six charges for sexual penetration offenses against a minor. The court convicted him of 4 charges, charge 2, 3, 4, and 5, bordering on indecent treatment of a child and sexual assault of a minor between 2013 and 2014, while the prosecution could not prove charge 1 and 6, which bordered on sexually assaulting the minor by penetrating her and attempted sexual assault by penetration. The sentence, according to the trial judge, Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo, is to run concurrently, meaning Baba Ijesha is to spend 5 years in prison in total. So I will just stop there because of time, and I'll go straight to our special guest, Mrs. Adene Ironke Posh. By implication, how far can this go in stemming the tide of sexual assault in the country? Mrs. Adene.
How far can, I didn't catch your question.
By implication, the sentence, 16 years sentence, imposed on Baba Ijesha, how far can this, justice that has been done, how far can this go in, stemming the tide of, a recurring sexual abuse against minor in the country?
You mean the implication on others?
In
In
the
deterring
implication of
others from
other,
doing the same thing?
generally speaking, the implication on other in terms of deterrence on other
Yeah.
perpetrators and also.
In terms of deterrent, I was thinking about it. I'm not convinced that it's going to do a lot in terms of deterring people, everyday people, the everyday man. I'm not sure it will do a lot. And the reason I say that is because, whilst it's the right thing to do, by the way, I must stress that if anybody abuses a minor, they must face the consequences of their actions. I believe that because this was amongst so-called celebrities, and there was a lot of media attention on that case. That is why we are where we are today. There are many children, young children, babies, teenagers in secondary school that are abused on a daily basis. And those people that abuse them do not actually face the consequences for their actions. Even this case, it just happens to be, let me call it by luck, media attention. There were so many things that we heard and we didn't hear. We heard that the child at some point, they said she was 17 years old, they said she was 24 years old. That we heard all sorts of things. This particular case, obviously, there was a lot of contention with the caregiver and the man in question, which brought this into limelight. And my question also remains that if this happened when the girl was 7 years old, what happened? Because if a minor has been abused, then there should be consequences at that point. That case should have been reported then. Why wait for 7 years? Why try to set up the same scenario to reoccur when a child has been traumatized? So it's for the everyday man I'm thinking about. The girl whose parents, whose mother needs some money and allows other people to sleep with her knowing that she's a minor. The children that go to secondary schools and they are working as nannies in people's homes and they're abused by several people. Those are the people that I'm worried about. I don't think that this will send a strong message yet to those people. I'm just not convinced. I believe that when they start picking up, when the government start picking up the everyday man on the street that abuses children, then we'll have more of a deterrent. I just believe that this is an isolated celebrity case, which has been handled properly. They faced the law, they've involved the government, the social media has given it some traction. Whatever the consequences are, he would have to face it. But for the everyday man, I'm not convinced it will deter them.
Well, thank you, Roque Posh, on that. Dr. Vicky, what's your take on this? The sentences of Olarenwaju James, Baba Ijesha. In your view, do you think that this, apart from the celebrity culture around it, do you think this will go a long way in sending any strong message, to people out there? There have been many reported cases of not just, family members alone, but even parents, actually sexually, assaulting their own kids. No, so what is your take on this, Dr. Vicky?
I believe that this is the beginning of it. Beginning of these people answering to what they've done. If this guy had gone scot-free as per when he was first accused of it, and he was eventually released on bail, and there were people dancing on the street saying, wow, it's been released, shame on Princess and shame on Iyabo Ojo and all that kind of stuff. People were rejoicing. So the fact that the hands of law still dealt with him, that is saying to me that, okay, we are starting to crawl. We're not walking yet, we're crawling. And if, despite this guy's notoriety, despite him being well known and being a star, he can be imprisoned. I think that this is sending a message to people out there. That is my take on this, that it's a beginning of what is to come. It's a warning to men and women out there taking advantage of our young people, damaging them, damaging their future for their own sexual needs. I believe it's the beginning.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. I'll go back to Mrs. Adeniyi now, and specifically the trial judge sentenced Baba Ijesha to 5 years imprisonment, but in total, 16 years to run concurrently. So, but in reality, is to spend 5 years in jail, because the 16 years is serving concurrently, and he's going to spend 5 years. So, you, in your view, Mr. Adeniyi, will you say justice has been served? Because if you just see the news headlines, and I would think an average Nigeria would think that is going to spend 16 years. I saw the headlines and I had to dig deep to see what is actually in the sentence and the breakdown of it. But in reality, this man will walk free in 5 years. Do you think, for the victim, do you think justice has been served in this instance?
I don't believe that justice has been served, but it's a start. The reason I say I don't believe that justice has been served is because when this thing apparently happened, the girl was 7 years old. And as a mom, I would imagine that if somebody, and it might be sentiment, you can call it sentiment or call it emotions. If somebody abuses my 7-year-old child, then I believe that the person should be jailed and the keys should be thrown away. I do not believe that my 7-year-old will become 12 or my current 14-year-old will become 19 and be able to share spaces with this person, laugh and just get on with their lives. And this person is going to have to deal, the child will have to deal with psychological, mental, emotional, post-traumatic issues as a result. 5 years, I mean, I don't know the law too much, but sometimes when they say 5 years, it's quicker than 5 years. Some people say it's like 9 months, 9 months, 9 months. I don't know how it is. But even if it's 5 straight years, it's going to go by quickly. And then when she's 19, if she's truly 14 now, I don't know, I don't really know the age of the child. I've had so many. If she's 19 and she goes out maybe to a party or something, and then she sees this guy enjoying his life, I don't believe that justice has been served.
Well, thank you very much, Ronke Portia. And for the benefit of our viewers, in criminal law, the basic arrangement is that if there are charges and there are terms of imprisonment attached to it. So on this occasion, based on what I've read, one of the charges, carries 5 years, and it's got 2 of those. So that's 5 times 2, that is 10. And then, there are 2 other charges, that carry 3 years imprisonment. So that those 3 times 2, initially there were 6 charges. They dropped 2 charges. So, and it was found guilty on 4 charges. So 2 of those charges, they carry, 5 times 2, that is 10. And then there are, 2 other charges with 3 years imprisonment. So 3 times 2, that is how they arrive at that 16 years. But because they are serving concurrently, it means that under the law, it's going to serve the highest one, which is 5 years. And I don't know how they count it in Nigerian terms, but globally, there is a standard calculation for prison terms that is different to our calendar. Probably will be out in normal calendar in just over 4 years. I would think so. So I'll come back to Dr. Vicky now. In terms of, and I'm sure reading Ronke's resume, she's also well exposed to international standards. I would think, what is the, Ronke, feel free to jump in here. How strong is the child protection in Nigeria? And because you said this thing happened like 7 years ago, I know child protection, they have their limitations. They rely on people actually reporting when
Exactly.
an
When they
incident
happen.
occurred. But one would still think that how strong it is within our culture, within our society. And my question to Vicky is this: do you think we need a stronger child protection in Nigeria to be able to, one, to protect these kids? Because it's one thing for the whole thing to come to the attention of the government when the damage has been done. Like in this instance, a 7-year-old child has been sexually assaulted.
To start with, the story that was going around at the time it was reported was that, yes, the abuse was initially done when the girl was 7 years old. However, the child didn't report. It was over the years that anytime Baba Ijesha comes on to the screen, it's the body language of the child. It's the way the child reacts whenever the guy is shown on the TV that got the lady, princess, and others to start asking questions. It was eventually when she was in her 12 or 14 or 12, 13 years old that she opened up as per what happened when she was 7, right? And yes, they did set him up, wanted to know, wanted to verify that did this really happen? Okay. And the video that we all saw, it wasn't an act, it was something this guy actually did. The action, the bodily action and everything says, yes, this guy really had done something before and he wanted to continue at this point. Now, if it wasn't reported, there's nothing anybody can do, even to the police and all that kind of stuff. But at this junction, the fact that the law found him guilty and the investigation must have been done, so many things might have come out that we weren't, because of the polarization of the media on that kind of stuff, the social media especially. People just come up and they wake up one day and dream up of a story and they create a story around it that might not be true, and that just goes out there like wildfire. But the real thing for the judge to come up and say, okay, I found you guilty, there must have been some investigation, deep investigation, for them to be able to say, yes, we did find you guilty. Okay. That is for me, that is a big deal. Yes, the 5 years, we might say it's too little. Yes, it's too little. However, this guy is in the highs, he's always out there as an actor. And as an actor, do you think him spending 5 years in jail will allow him will allow him the freedom that he enjoyed in the past? Do you think he will be able to? Because now his situation is different from when he was initially accused of it, and he was in not in prison, but he was arraigned. It's different, and he was eventually released on bail that some people mistook for, yes, he's been released, he had no problem, he didn't do it, they lied. This is another level. He's being found guilty, he's being sent to prison. So when he comes out, even in 5 years, I don't think his career will be at the same level if he's got anything left. Because if I'm a producer, I don't think I want to feature somebody who had been to jail, not just for stealing because he was hungry, but for sexually molesting a child, a minor. I don't think I want to feature such a person in my film, number one. Number two, will he be able to travel? I don't think so. Because when you have I'm not sure about Nigeria. That's another thing. If it happened in a place like this, I have a client currently who was, of course, accused, and he did it. And yes, he was given suspended sentence. But now his name is forever in sexual offenders register. And that is for life. There's nothing he can do to remove that. That is for life, meaning that he cannot travel overseas, number one. Even if he wants to travel interstate, he will need to ask for permission in writing for that to happen. He cannot spend time with his own grandchildren. So many things that he can't do. But in Nigeria, I don't know what they've got in place for people who had been accused and found guilty for sexually molesting young people. I don't know what we've got on ground there. Now, Wale, you asked about child protection, and I'm not going to lie to say I know what they've got. I don't think they do. I have some social workers as some social workers that I mentor over there, and there hasn't been any talk around child protection. Maybe there's minimal. If they know, there are people, I know of some people that do pro bono work in terms of if they know about it, they report. In Lagos, for instance, they've got some agencies that do kind of work like that, but I don't know how strong they are. I don't know how strong they are. I can't compare that with what we have on ground here. Just a little bit, a neighbor here calling police or calling to report that there's something, there'll be so much investigation and there'll be so much noise around it. So I really don't know. I can't really do much comment on and make more comment on that, Wale.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vicky. So I'll go to Ronke Poch now, Mrs. Ronke Adeni. Look, on 2 points, tell us what you know about, child protection, the setup in Nigeria or in Lagos, and also relate that to what you do with your organization. Your organization that child's rights, that's a platform for you to address some of these issues. So please tell us what you do within your organization in terms of protecting the rights of kids, and also your knowledge of if there's any collaboration with child protection, whatever name they call it, in Lagos. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. There is in Lagos Child Protection Act, safeguarding. These things exist, and they are spreading gradually. I believe that in Lagos, that is the state that does it the most in Nigeria. At least we know that in the north, a lot of people marry minors, and it is acceptable based on culture. So I can't imagine if you put a Child Protection Act and in the north and you say that someone should not be involved with a minor, it will not fly, because it's the culture for them to marry minors. We've heard cases of alleged politicians with minors, and nothing has happened. And that is my concern, that number one, is this guy going to truly spend the 5 years there? And when he comes out, is it going to affect his career in any way? I do not think so, because in many of these places around the country, these sort of things happen, and they actually have normalized it, unfortunately. The Child Protection and Safeguarding Act is happening. I know Lagos State is moving around schools. They've had many gatherings. They're even mandating that all schools do the training for all their educators in Lagos State. And like I said, I believe that Lagos State is the one that is doing the most at the moment. Not to say that other states are not making an attempt to protect the children. So the awareness is there. People and educators especially know that they ought to have some form of child protection and safeguarding training in every school. So it is happening. Lagos State is moving around. They're sharing materials. They're doing the training. It's moving around, but it is gradual. That's what I'm going to say, that it's widespread all over the place, but it's better than nothing. And we've come a significantly long way from where we were. Last week, I was in a conference with over 100 educators, and I asked about safeguarding, which was a topic I was invited to talk about. And I asked the audience, which was mainly educators, that before today, have you ever thought about the word safeguarding, not child protection, safeguarding the children, which is essentially preventing the acts from actually even happening. So in this case, you're going to apply it. How did the caregiver prevent the case or the incident from happening? How did the caregiver prevent the 7-year-old child from being abused? Which is, prevention is better than cure. What we want really, whether the child reported it 10 years later, 20 years later, what we would have loved and preferred is for it not to have happened. Some sort of safeguarding should have occurred. And when I asked the audience, a lot of people, in fact, a good 95% do not even know what safeguarding involves. They don't even know what it's about. So there's still a lot of work to do when it comes to talking to people about child protection and safeguarding. And I will continue to stress that prevention is better than cure, because it is very, very difficult, near impossible sometimes, to erase the trauma that children go through when they have been abused sexually. Some of them may affect their career, affects their marriages, it affects them in different ways. So it's better that we prevent it. People might be rejoicing that the man has been convicted. However, we still have to understand that there's a child that is still involved in this case and still needs a lot of healing.
Thank you very much, Ronke Porsche. And I'm sure later in the program, we're going to talk more about, the solutions. On this program, we focus on solutions. We talk about the problems, but I think having an expert like you with us, at least we want to know from your views, what are the solutions. And I think you spoke about safeguarding earlier, and I think one of the major issues is that we can all flash back now, like what we know about, especially that kind of molestation within family setting, is the most secretive part of it. And
Exactly.
you won't even think that is happening. Like in the last few days, just thinking about this, about even in school, you can see the grooming. You can see, you can look back and see this particular teacher that will send kids to go and fetch water, to go and buy stuff. And I can remember they are mostly young teachers, and in most cases they are mostly, single, and then they have the trust of the kids. I can look back now without really accusing anyone, but I can see that pattern of grooming that as a child, you don't pay attention to it. You just see that they have their favorite students or whatever, but you can see that pattern of grooming. And even within the family setting, I've had a few stories now, people actually coming out. And
yeah, while on that, I was looking at our group thing. Egbon Yemi sent some articles.
Okay.
Father, a 40-year-old, allegedly rapes his 13-year-old daughter in Kebbi. Another one, man rapes 6-year-old daughter in Lagos. He blames his wife for denying him sex. Sarah reported that. A 47-year-old man rapes 18-year-old daughter in Ilorin. Those are just 3 cases.
Yeah.
And over and over and over and over, it's happening even within family. If it's not the father, it's the uncle. If it's not the uncle, it's the father's friend. If it's not that, it's even grandfather. How do you safeguard against your own father? How do you safeguard against your grandfather, your uncle, your brother's friend, and so many like that? And talking about that, Wale, I remember as a 13-year-old girl, I was sent to a lesson, after school lesson. And my teacher, my lesson teacher, maths teacher, who was also my mother's colleague, they were both teaching in the same school. This man was HOD for maths department. My mother was HOD for English department. and we were living in the same locality. So of course the trust was there. Apart from that, this man was also um, one of the highly placed people in the church. So we trusted him. My parents trusted him. And then, you know what? Went to this lesson one day, and all of a sudden, this guy came behind me and grabbed my boobs, a 13-year-old girl. How do you safeguard against that? I couldn't tell my mother, because another adult that I mentioned this to that same day said, you can't, because you're going to destroy his marriage. Because if your mom and dad should know about this, oh, all hell will break loose in that community. You can't. You just can't. So just keep quiet. Keep quiet. At least he didn't do anything. I'm like acid. It didn't penetrate you. So just let it go. So I didn't tell my parents. And that happens again and again. So cases like this just kind of makes me angry that we're not even doing enough. Though the fact that at least they could verify that this guy did something wrong, and yes, they've sent him to jail, even if it's only 12 months jail, at least they're doing something. And not just him, all these people that we got to know that they're doing this, something needs to be done. If they have to be castrated, let's do it. Whatever needed to be done, they need to do it. Sorry to
Like,
just bump in. And
yeah, no,
welcome,
no,
Elvis.
thank you very much. Just on that safeguarding, I think Mrs. Adeni mentioned something about the need to continue to educate people. And I think part of that safeguarding is to make parents, in my opinion, to look at things differently, not to let their guard down, to be able to look at things differently, to look at things in terms of even uncles or aunts coming around. You just have to be sure if they're alone in the lounge or wherever they are. You just have to be sure that you want to be sure that they're doing the right thing. And I think it's just the lack of awareness, in my opinion, that in the past caused a lot of things. Because I could look back maybe at late primary school or early secondary school when we have student teachers coming to our schools. These are teachers from College of Education or corpus coming to spend a whole year. They do a lot of things that I can now, as an adult, I can really work it out. That especially some of the, the kind of affiliation they have with the girls. I could really know they were grooming them and they were sexually abusing them. It's just as simple as that. But as a teenager, 12, 13-year-old, you can't really work it out. But as an adult, I've really, in my brain, walked back and I can trace exactly what happened. Anyway, I'll quickly welcome one of our guest panelists, one of our regular panelists here, Mr. Elvis Nwachukwu, who just joined us a few minutes ago. You're welcome, Mr. Nwachukwu.
Thank you, Wale. Wale, I'm actually in Darwin. I made a short trip to Darwin. I meant to join in earlier, but the time difference had me a bit confused. I just had a look at the time and realized, oh, look, in Melbourne it's nearly 9 o'clock now, and whereas here it's just past 8.
Past 8, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the effort. So we're just talking about sexual abuse in Nigeria, and we have our special expert in the room, Mrs. Ronke Adeneyi, popularly known as Ronke Posh. So yeah. So thanks for joining us. So we go to Ronke Posh again, and this has to do with the kind of the society we live and how the society has responded to all this. The mother of the victim, Princess, faced opposition during the trial, with many people calling her out to discontinue the case. Will you say the society is complicit in this? Or do you want me to go over that again, Ronke Posh? Can you unmute, please?
Sorry. Yes, please do. It's not very clear. I didn't.
Yeah, it has to do with our society and how we respond. Like, people actually call out to Princess, the mother of the victim, to discontinue the case at a period. So my question was, as a society, are we complicit
Yes, absolutely. As a society, we are complicit. It's very unfortunate. Recently, I actually was handling a case where a child had been abused when she went to register for her WAEC exams or whatever the case may be. And eventually, people were begging the mother to forget about the case and forgive the man. They were offering her money, saying that this man has a wife and 2 children, and they don't want the wife to know so that they don't destroy the family. However, this girl at the time was 12 years old, so they don't really care about the after effects of the trauma or the girl, but we will want the man to continue his life, and he'll probably have abused a minor before and continue to do so, knowing that what's the worst that can happen is that I'm going to beg my way out of it. I'm going to get my brother and my friends to beg out of it. Oftentimes as well, when these things happen, you see, when cases of abuse happens, it's rarely a stranger that abuses a child. It's usually someone that is close and well known and trusted. They're the ones that abuse children. So you find that it's the parents, it's the brother's friends, the sisters, the teachers, people that the child would actually trust. And when such things happen, especially when it's within the family, say for example it's a cousin, they'll say, oh, it's your brother. Even the grandma will come and say, it's your brother, it's your brother that did it. It's your sister's son that did it. Do you want to embarrass the family? Do you want to destroy the family? So all those sort of things are the sort of things that we see, and it encourages these monsters. Usually men, even though women abuse children as well, it encourages them because they know that whatever they do, the consequences are not stiff enough. In fact, to me, I believe that the consequences are non-existent, because if you beg your way out of it, nothing happens to you. Even if it's everybody calls a family meeting and they shout at you for a few days, it's not enough to deter someone. What will deter people are taking action, giving them long-term jail sentences, castrating them, doing whatever it is, because these women are struggling. As you read at the beginning, 1 in how many people have been abused? So many different kind of statistics. Nearly every woman, it is said, has been sexually abused in one capacity or the other. So if we do not have stiff enough penalties and consequences for these monsters, we will continue. Society is definitely complicit, 150%.
Yeah, that's very powerful there, okay, Portia, for that analysis. Looking at time is fast spent. So the last leg of the program, I want us to focus on solutions. We've spoken about some of the issues, and I know many people out there, they know about what the issues are. So I want to divide that into 2. I will first go to Dr. Vicky to look at it from the person-centered approach in terms of the victims. How do we care for them, from the scars and the trauma, so that they don't grow up and become damaged adults? So I want Dr. Vicky to handle that, and after that I will come to Mrs. Adeniyi to look at the solution from the legal framework, and also in terms of prevention from different angles. You would definitely delve into what you've spoken about safeguarding. So solutions or care for victims, Dr. Vicky, and then Ronke Poch to look at the solution in terms of how we respond as a society in terms of legal and some other kind of precautionary measures. So over to you, Dr. Vicky, in terms of how do we really care for the victims?
All right. So to start with, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. There are a few ways that I believe we can help the victims. Number 1 is to encourage them to talk. When you talk, the perpetrator, they're not winning any longer. That is the beginning of setting yourself free from what can hold you back from being an achiever in life. Because you cannot have all this trauma all within you and you just keep moving on in life. It's like having a dark cloud over your head perpetually. This taunts growth. You can't grow with it. So you need to let it out. And how do you let it out? You need to find professionals to talk to. It's not something you talk to a friend that might go around and start, bashing you and telling people about your story. It's about finding professionals that they have been trained to help you through this kind of trauma, to listen and not judge you. All right. So helping them to have a safe place, a place to talk, a place to let it out, to talk about how they, the feelings and stuff like that, and just help them to get their power back.
So as a society, how do we, in terms of victim blaming that is out there, do you think that victim blaming is one of the reasons why even women, either young adults or even adults, that they are not really free to come out? Because you look at our society and you see a lot of victim blaming going on there. Do you think that you said it's very important for victims to speak out? So how do you just oppose that with a society that is very judgmental? Yes. And it's not even judgmental to the perpetrator, judgmental to the victim.
To the victim. Education. Which is one of the reasons why I really appreciate the kind of job that Rocket Posh is doing, educating parents, educating, people within the society to know what they're doing by blaming the victim isn't right. The impact of it, getting some of the victims who had gone through it and they are at the other side, they are now winning, to come and talk. When people can see that whenever they hear about cases, their reaction and what they say can make a lot of difference, can build or can damage, that will get them to think differently. So education is always the best way to go. Some more people like Ronke Posh coming up to go out there to talk to them that this and this is what is expected. When you hear about this is what we're supposed to do, not judging and not blaming. I mentioned earlier on my own personal story. The older woman who appears to be my mom's friend was blaming me, actually. Blaming me by saying, if you talk, this man's marriage will be destroyed. So, of course, the consequences of this man's action will be blamed on me. Come on. And that goes on and on and on. So educating people like that what you're doing is just not right. You're not helping, because the moment you make this person not to be accountable for what they've done, you are giving them permission to keep doing it, to keep ruining young people's lives.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. So I go to Ronke Posh for our final comments, like solutions and other ideas. And if you have any response to what Dr. Vicky just said, please address some of the issues in your final response. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Vicky is right on target. We're on the same page. I don't really have anything to oppose there. I will just add that these days, what we do with teenagers is to empower them to speak up, to say, to talk to the predator, to say to the predator that they know that it's abuse. Because oftentimes, when we contrast what is happening now and then, oftentimes a lot of children don't even know that they're being abused, and a lot of children don't know what to do. So when that happened, for example, people are already saying family members, all sorts of things. How about if she goes to speak to a teacher? If the teacher is aware of what to do in a case of abuse, because it is abuse, call it whatever, it's penetration or not, it's harassment, it's abuse, it's everything, but it's wrong. So how are we empowering those children these days so that they are so aware, even when the person is already grooming the child? Because they will groom the child, they will give them things, they will be nice to them, you will trust them, and then they will just suddenly do something like grab her like this man did. So empowering those teenagers, speaking to them in school, speaking to them at assemblies, telling them. The only fear that I have is that oftentimes, even when the father is the one abusing the child, when you take those sort of cases to allow, if they are to remove those children from their homes, where are they going to put them? Are they going to be in a safer place, or are they going to be somewhere worse where different people will now abuse them? That is what we need, social services, and we need for those children to be protected wherever it is that they are taken to. So the government has a lot to do. When the children are abused, it is trauma and it can last for many, many years. So they do need handholding for many, many years to come. They need counseling. They need psychologists, depending on the level and the degree of the abuse. Those children need, even as adults, they still need to be checking in every now and again to see that they are living good quality lives and it's not impacting their career or their social life or anything else that they're doing. Society stigmatizes. They stigmatize. They will tell you, oh, that girl that was abused, that one that was raped, that one that was. We need to know that whoever was abused is actually the winner, is the survivor. It's the person that abused the predator that should be ashamed. But they make the abused and I don't like to say they abuse. I want to say that they are survivors of abuse. They are the ones that the society makes they stigmatize them, they label them. Whereas you find that oftentimes many of these men, not only men, so I also like to emphasize, because not only men are abusers, but oftentimes they are the ones that abuse children. They get away with it. You won't even hear about cases like that. I mean, when we had the Christian case happen not long ago, where the little girl was in Dubai and all sorts of things happened, we kept hearing about the girl. We kept hearing about the girl, whereas the act was not performed by only a girl, because we live in a patriarchal environment where the men get away with blue murder. So the solution is that we want to give stiff penalties and consequences for men that do this. Above all else, my favorite solution is for parents to be intentional and have strong emotional bonds and connections with their children, such that they can trust them enough to say things. And the first thing that the parent will do should not be to shout, to defend, to beat the child, but to listen and investigate. The best thing to do is that you stay with your children, you leave them with trusted adults. You can't put your child with someone based on sentiment. You can't say, because he's my brother, it's okay to leave my child. You don't know how perverted this brother may be. It is also better for you to leave your children in an environment where you have more than two eyes. You have more than one person there, and you can trust you can trust the person. Some people will say, oh, they put CCTV in their homes. Even if you find out that it was X that abused your child because you saw it on CCTV, hooray, that person might be thrown in jail, but that child has still been abused. What we need to do is to get you to prevent the abuse in any way.
Thank you very much. Look, I'll quickly, because of time, we actually this is supposed to be an hour, but when I have two, strong advocates on the program, so I just want to continue to go on and on. Probably we look for a time to have Ronke Posh on the program in the next couple of months. But I quickly look at some of the solutions that have been preferred. Number one, talk about it. It is very important for victim survivor to talk about it. It is very important. Let it out. You can't continue to carry that trauma for the rest of your life. You have to let it out. You talk to professionals, psychologists, counselors. There are a lot of professionals out there that you can go through that journey, of that therapeutic journey with them. Share your stories, and there's healing that comes with telling your stories. Education. They need to educate, the society around the safeguards, that we all need to focus on. That is very important. We should stop victim blaming. The attention should be on the perpetrators. They are the ones that have done the bad thing, not the victims. Mrs. Adeni specifically mentioned something about safer environments. Like even if when you get kids out of in cases where the parents, their dad is a abuser, if you get them out, where do you take them? So they need to have safer environment. Something like in this part of the world we call out of home care. If kids are taken out of homes by child protection, they put them out of home care. So that is something, if we don't have anything like that, something to look in that direction, stop the victim blaming. They need about our patriarchal society to try and be more moderate and to try and give women the opportunities as well. Strong penalty in terms of the legal response that people should really, if you've done that kind of worst crime, you should be ready to do the time and to do that time for a very, very, very long time. And, the last on the list, the need for parents to form strong emotional bonds, with their children. And also, is this your number one responsibility as parents? Not your uncles, your sisters' responsibility. It is your responsibility to leave your kids with trusted people. That is your number one priority as parents. And CCTV is good, but you only find out when the harm, has been done. So look after the kids, protect the kids. So thank you very much. I will hand over the baton to Dr. Vicky to close the show. And once again, I say a big thank you to our dear special guest, Mrs. Ronke Adeniyi, Ronke Posh.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. Dr. Vicky, over to you.
Wale, once again, I want to say a very big thank you for moderating the show as always. Thank you for taking time out to do it. And our special guest, Ronke Posh, thank you for joining us and adding your voice to our voices. I think part of what we to do is what we're currently doing. Hopefully, parents out there or parents to be, they are watching this and they will learn from it and learn what to do to protect their children. So thank you once again, Ronke, and hopefully when we call you for another time for you to join us and be a guest panelist, you'll be able to say yes to us. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you to our viewers out there that made it to join us today. We appreciate you. We are not taking your presence here with us for granted at all. So we'll be back again next Saturday with another great topic. We're not sure what Mr. Executive Director will be given to us to talk about, but it's always exciting to get those topics and just break them down and discourse honestly amongst ourselves. So thank you, everybody. We just want to wish you a lovely weekend. Have a relaxing one, and I will be having a relaxing one. It's quite warm down here. Wale, while it's cold with you guys.
It's cold here. It's cold here in Melbourne. So so enjoy your summer holiday in UK.
I will.
Everything is on here. Yeah.
I'll just take some pictures and make you to be jealous, okay?
Okay, please pepper me where.
Be careful. I hear it's 40 degrees in some places.
Wow.
So you need to stay away from sunburn, dehydration, and I hear that there's some fires there as well. So maybe we shouldn't envy you too much.
Thank you for that, Ruki. All right, you all take care. God bless.
All right,
bye.
The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Giant of Africa. Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. The Nigeria we want. With Vicky Omi Folaji. Yeah, me shorty move. Wale Olaito. Alvin say what shuku. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria.